Hello fellow creatives, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. Here we make fashion tutorials, sewing tutorials, DIYs, natural hair content, and also bead making tutorials. So if you know that those areas are what you're interested in, please make sure you subscribe. I post videos every Wednesdays and Saturdays, so yeah, you're not going to want to miss out on all the tutorials and content that I have for you. So please make sure you subscribe, and if you're subscribed already and this is your second time or fifth time here, thank you so much for coming back to watch my new video. I really appreciate your support. So yeah, as you can see from the title of this video is a pattern tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how to draft the pattern of this beautiful dress that I'm wearing. So this tutorial is kind of like for intermediate sewists, for people that are like kind of experienced, but also if you're a beginner, then you could also try this as well if you want a challenge for yourself as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the tutorial. All right, so these are the tools that we're going to need for this tutorial. As you can see, we're going to need a lot of pattern paper. We're going to need at least 4 layers of pattern paper because this pattern is kind of like complicated, so we're going to be cutting on pattern paper a lot. So yeah, you're going to need at least 4 layers of pattern paper. You're going to need your rulers, you're going to need your measurements, you're going to need your marker, your tape roll, and last but not least your scissors. So these are the specific measurements that we're going to need for this tutorial. So just for clarity purpose, when I mean dress hem, I mean like where your dress stops. So for instance, I wanted my dress to stop at my knee, so my dress hem measurement was my knee, my 2 knees put together. So I have a tutorial on how to get all your measurements, and it's going to be linked up there. So yeah, let us get onto the tutorial. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is that we want to mark 3.5 inches inwards from the center front, and we're leaving this space because towards the middle of this tutorial we're going to need that space to extend a few things. So as you can see, I'm just marking 3.5 inches from the top to the bottom, and I'm just joining that line. Then after that, I'm going to mark my neckline. So I wanted my neckline to be 4 inches long and then 3 inches wide. I wanted to do 4 inches first, but I opted for 3 inches instead because of the deep neckline, but it depends on you if you want yours to be wide or thin. Then here I'm marking my sleeve length. So I wanted my sleeve to be from my neck to my elbow, but if you want your sleeve to be a long sleeve, then you would measure from your neck to your wrist. I hope that makes sense. So after I have marked that measurement, I'm going to go down 3.75 inches, as you can see, from that point of my neck to my elbow, which is my sleeve length. Then I'm going downwards 3.75 inches, and I'm going to connect it to that line. Then after that, from that point onward, I'm going to go downward like so, and then I'm just going to mark my elbow measurements divided by 2. So I just divided my elbow measurements by 2, and then that was what I got. And then I'm just going to connect those lines together, and that is that for the first part of your sleeve and for your pattern paper. Then the next thing you want to do is that you want to mark all of your vertical measurements. So what do I mean by that? I mean my shoulder to waist, shoulder to your shoulder to your waist, waist to hip, and then last but not least your shoulder to your dress hem, which means the length of your dress, how long you want your dress to be. So as you can see, my pattern was not long enough to accommodate the length of my dress, so I had to add a few I had to add extra pattern paper to the bottom. And as you can see, I'm just drawing the line of my dress hem like so. And then I went ahead to label the lines, which is waist, hip, and dress hem. So the next thing that I'm doing is that I'm marking my horizontal measurements divided by 4. So my waist divided by 4, my hip divided by 4, and my dress hem divided by 4. And I'm adding 1/2 inch of seam allowance. So as you can see, I did not include my bust because this dress is going to be like, kind of like a batwing sleeve. So there's no need for, as you can see, you're just going to connect that like so. So there's no need for our bust measurements for this one, just for clarity's sake. So as you can see, I'm just going to connect that my elbow points, I'm going to connect it to my waist. So you could do freehand with this, but I just decided to get my ruler. Then after this, you're going to want to come up from your waist point. You're going to want to come up 3 inches, So as you can see, I'm just marking 3 inches, and then from that, my neck points there, I'm just going to connect it with that 3 inches mark that I marked above my waist. So this is the point that you're going to see why it was important for us to leave 3.5 inches. So as you can see, from my waist point, I'm going to extend, like I'm going to go outward from my waist point by 2.75 inches, and then I'm going to connect that line to my neckline and also to my dress hem. So that is the center front of my neckline. So that is the neckline to my neckline, and then to the center front of my dress hem. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is I want to mark 3 points. So we're going to mark from that point 0.75, then we're going to mark another point 0.75, and then another point 0.75. So as you can see, we have marked 3 points. Then next thing we're going to want to do is that we're going to want to draw lines. So the first line is going to stop at the middle point of the dress hem. The second line is going to stop at the outer side of the dress hem, as you can see, and then the third point should stop at like a little bit below the hip. So as you can see, that is the way to do it. Then for the upper part, you know, you could just like make it like small, but it shouldn't, you know, be too wide, because we don't want the fullness to be around the top of the dress. We want it to be around the bottom of the dress. So now that we're done with this, the first thing that we want to do is that we want to, you know, transfer all of this on another pattern paper so that we can get our back panel. So the first thing that I'm just going to do is that I'm just going to cut, but I'm not going to cut that point. You know, you just want to leave all this part. Only the points that I cut are the points that you should cut, because you don't want to cut anything from those lines, so that, you know, we would be able to later use it for the front panel. So as you can see, I've cut it out, and then, you know, I just marked 1 inch for the zip allowance, because the material that I'm using doesn't have stretch. But if the material that you're going to use has stretch, then you don't really need to, you know, put your zip allowance. So as you can see, we want to fold this pattern, we want to fold it so that it, you know, it would, you know, stop at that line, because that is the line that we use to, you know, mark all our waist measurements, our hip measurements. So once we turn, like once we fold it like this, we're rest assured that, you know, we have our, you know, exact measurements without, you know, the 3.5, you know, inches that we put inwards. So as you can see, I just traced it out on the pattern paper, making sure that my pattern stopped at that, you know, zip allowance, you know, line, because it's very important if, you know, you're going to leave zip allowance. So as you can see, I'm just marking my waist points, my hip points as well. So this is a little hack that I like to do anytime, you know, I want to, you know, sew a zipper and I want it to, you know, really fit on the body. So I'm going to make a detailed tutorial about this really soon, but, you know, for now, what we want to do is that from that waist point on, we want to go inwards 1/2 inch, and then connect that point to, you know, the rest of the pattern paper. So please take note that I'm not supposed to put it on the zip allowance line. It should be on, you know, the outer edge, you know. So that was a mistake, so take note, it should be on the outer edge and not on the zip allowance line. So the next thing that I'm doing is that, you know, I'm just drawing 1 inch for the length of my neckline, because, you know, it's the back panel. Oh, see me struggling with my nails there. So I'm just going to use my French curve to just make that curve of the neckline, and then after that I'm going to cut out my pattern piece, you know, on the lines that I'm meant to cut them out. But please take note, you should cut on that point, yes, not on the zip allowance points, but on the outer edge point, and then I'm just cutting it out. So yeah, I'm done with my back panel. So I'm just putting my necessary details, you know, just to, you know, remind me of when I did it and who it's for and all of that. And then I'm just labeling my points, and that is that for the back panel. So for the front panel, what we want to do is that we want to cut on that edge, you know, that first line that we did before. You know, we have 4 lines now, as you can see. So we're just going to cut on that first line on the outer edge. We're going to cut straight from the bottom to the top, like so. Then after that, we want to spread out the pattern. This is where it gets really interesting. So we're going to first of all cut from that waist point. Make sure that, you know, it is exactly the way I'm cutting now, because this piece is quite tricky. So you want to, make sure that you're really focused. And also, as you can see, I'm just showing that you should not cut out. Okay, you should not cut everything all through, but just cut it enough so that you would be able to spread it out. So as you can see, I'm just cutting out the other lines, and yeah. So as you can see, I have gotten fresh pattern paper. So what I'm doing here is that I'm just trying to spread it out, and just get a feel of how many pattern papers I would need. So as you can see, I have 2 pattern papers layered, because one pattern paper is not going to be enough. So that is why I said that you would need at least one for the back panel, one for the front panel, and then 2 for this part that we're going to spread out. Alright, so for this spread out process, you're going to want to first of all use that center front to form a straight line, and then you pin it down. And then after that, you're going to want to divide each panel that we separated by 2.5 inches, which is 2.5 inches. So as you can see, each panel there is divided by 2.5 inches all the way till we get to the last one. So after you've done that, you want to draw this curve, as you can see, and then those 2 notches are going to be the notches that we're going to transfer on the fabric. And in the sewing tutorial, I'm going to show you why that's really important. So as you can see, I'm just tracing out the edges of the fabric, of the pattern, and then after that, I'm just going to cut it out like so. So you meant to make sure that you're cutting it all the way from the edges. You don't want to cut through the top pattern for no reason. You just want to cut through the edges the way I'm cutting it. So that is it for this pattern tutorial. And then I just went ahead to label the front panel as well, and this is the front panel and the back panel, and I will see you in the sewing tutorial. Okay, so that is it for the pattern tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was helpful for you to understand. I'm going to leave some like things to notes, like my measurement and like fabric you should use in the description box, so that you could just refer to it when you're sewing yours, just to make the process a little bit easier for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to post this tutorial on Saturday, so if you're watching this and it's already up, I'm going to link it up here. No, sorry, I think it's here. Yeah, I'm going to link it up here so that you can go watch that as well and learn how to sew it as well. I really love the dress, and I hope that you do too. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.